in case you haven't heard, this Thursday, the playoffs for Global Season 1 Apex Arena start, which means that this past weekend was the final weekend of Apex before the playoffs, and as such, I wanted to go over a few different things that I noticed throughout the season. So, my name is Loomis, and I will be covering 5 things in a Season 1 Apex retrospective that I saw throughout Season 1 of Apex Arena that people should definitely look at fixing before Season 2 if they want to try to make the top 256, if they want to try to hit Langrisser, or hit any of the goals that they want. So, without any further ado, we will get started here. Now, the first one on my list is people using daggers versus bows. Now, for those who don't know, let me open up my bag here. I don't have a fully built dagger right now for reasons that will become very obvious in 1 second. But I will show you right now the difference between, in stat-wise, just base stats here. So I have an unbuilt Bloody Melody here. It has 9 attack and 4 skill. And you'll notice that the dagger has 8 attack and 5 skill. So daggers have less attack and more skill. At level 50, that turns into, for bows, they'll have 107 attack and 43 skill, where a dagger will have 96 attack and 54 skill. Now that's a difference of 11 attack and 11 skill. And for those of you who don't know, the way skill calculated is that every 10 points of skill equals 1% of crit rate. So essentially you're trading 11 attack pre-battle for 1% crit. Now, if you ask me, that's a pretty bad trade-off. Additionally, most daggers that you'll be using, the two that you'll use by far, the only two that you would use really, are Bathory the Seductress and Spirit Griever, because Windcutter Dagger and Nighthawk are arguably the 2 worst weapons in the game. So both Bathory and Spirit Griever do not give you any attack in battle, where most bows, in fact all of them but Ullr's, give you an additional 10% attack. So when you use a dagger instead of a bow, you are leaving an incredible amount of attack off the table for a very marginal amount of skill. Now, I do know that the 2 daggers I'm mentioning here do give you 15% crit in battle, which is something, but for most units, it doesn't matter. The loss of attack is going to be so great that you're not going to be able to kill anything regardless. So, just remember, going forward, basically never use a dagger, ever. The only time I can think I would ever use a dagger is in Hugin and Munin. If I had a second archer, use a Spirit Griever, but otherwise, daggers, in my opinion, are virtually useless on nearly every character. So, as you look at your box and look to what you might be able to improve, just put the daggers away, slap a bow on your unit, even if it's Bloody Melody. Bloody Melody is way better than all these daggers. Bloody Melody isn't even that bad. So, just for the love of God, please put bows on your units. You'll notice a huge offensive uptick, and maybe you might win a couple more matches. Alright, so for number 2, I'm going to use my Leaden as a reference. So, sometimes people ask me, they'll say, hey, look at my enchants, and they'll open their Leon, and their Leon's enchants look like this. All defenses, and they'll say, oh, isn't this great? Like, I can't re-roll this. No, it's a DPS. You re-roll it. You need to have attack on your DPSs. And obviously, yes, HP is great. Having some defenses is great on your DPS. If you have just a glass cannon, it's not going to be as good as a little bit more of a balanced DPS. But above and all, a DPS needs attack. You need to make sure you have attack rolls on your DPS. Stop running these HP defense build Leons and Lanas and who God knows what. It's just, there's so many people trotting out, bad enchants here that, it's one thing if you're like, look, I haven't enrolled a ton, this is the resources I have. Sure, I understand that, resources are limited, they're limited for me too. I don't have the world's best enchants everywhere. But there's a number of players who I talk to who they're like, I can't re-roll this enchant because I have too much defense, it's too much stats. Or like even this one. It'd be something like this. Now if this was on like a Lana, I guess this would be fine. I would take this because, 3% in, 10% HP. I would still try to roll it a bit higher. Because, you want as much damage as possible on your DPSs. But yeah, it's like the defense focused ones that I see people have on their DPS, and it's just like, guys, what is the purpose of DPS? To take a hit or to kill things? I think it's to kill things. So if you're having trouble killing things in Apex, maybe start with your enchants. See how much attack or intelligence you have, and go from there and figure it out. Alright, now, the third option, or sorry, the third item I would like to address is poor soldier selection or lack of options. So, I can't tell you the amount of times that I'll go into a fight and someone will whip out a Leonhardt, and it's a terrain map, so let's say it's like the desert map in Apex, or it's the one with the ships and the water in the middle, and the Leonhardt will be equipped with Royal Cavalry. Now, Royal Cavalry is a great option for Leonhardt when there's no terrain issues, which, you know, there's like one map, two maps in Apex that you would not find any terrain issues, and, you know, making sure that you have the right soldier is incredibly important in a lot of matchups. So for Leonhardt, obviously you want soldiers that can cross terrain. So for example, with him, you know, Highlands and Dark Centurions are both great options for Leonhardt. Now, another example, let's take someone like Landius. So Landius obviously runs Royal Cavalry a lot of the time. But what if you're facing against a Vargas or a Jugler, because Jugler has Stone Colossus? Now, you're going to need an option that's not Royal Cavalry, because let's say you get tank versus tank against a Vargas or a Jugler, there is 0% chance your Landius will be able to kill them. He'll get walled hard, so that's why you build something like Guardian Infantry. So, you know, and again, training field is something that, you know, it's resource intensive, and it takes a long time to build, but it's very important to map out what you do with your training field, and look ahead to things that you need built, and ways that you can creatively create new techs to protect yourself against your opponents. Now, a lot of people like to grind Goddess Trial, you know, for the chance of getting SSR items that they can ore or they can use or whatnot. As you progress later in the game, the number of specific items you'll need greatly lessens. Now, I mean, even no matter how endgame you are, you can always use another Last Rites. You could always use another Tendio's Robe, etc., etc. But, you know, what people should really be grinding Anarchy and focusing on their training fields, because that is a ton of... When you haven't built up your training field, it's a ton of power that you've just left on the table, and it might be a reason that you're losing matches, because if you don't have good soldiers, if you don't have good options, and you don't have enough options to kind of, you know, mix and match against, you know, whatever you leave your opponent after ban pick, you know, you might be putting yourself in a bad position. Alright, the fourth thing I want to cover in the retrospective is what I call healer problems. So, let me go to my box real quick. And a lot of people have probably heard that the ideal box setup is having 2 tanks and 4 healers, and that this is the case for a number of reasons. Let's say you only have 3 healers. So let's say my Iris was into my box. I had my Liana, I had my Close, and I had my Tiaris. And if you face someone with 3 healers, what you can do is you can ban Liana from the start. Then they'll pick a tank or they'll pick a DPS. So, you know, you pick your Jugler, you pick your Leonhardt, you pick whoever. Now I can just click your 2 healers and you have no more healers. And, you know, when fighting without healers is very difficult unless you have the stat advantage. 2 equally matched opponents. The one has a healer, one doesn't. The one with a healer is probably going to win, generally speaking. Now, you know, if you're lemons, that might not be the case, but, you know, most of us aren't lemons, so that's not a real option. So, you know, make sure that you have enough healers in your box. We have, you know, there's 4 really kind of quote-unquote meta healers in Liana, Tiaris, Close, and Iris. 2 of them were given to all of us for free, so you're going to have at least 2 of them. Sophia, in my opinion, is definitely not as great, but is a budget option, and she's an SR, so there's a number of healers out there that you can definitely use, and make sure that you have enough healers in your box for Season 2. And the other point I'd like to make on healers is that a lot of people don't really build their healers. They don't have heart bonds on them, they don't have enough defense on them, they don't have enough HP on them. Yes, having Crystal on your healers and do healing to full, that does feel good, but the tactical importance of healing a full all the time is less than survival, which is why meditation rings are actually considered, very, very good items for healers, because it prevents them from getting hit by fixed damage. Now, because if your healer dies, and if you have a very, very squishy healer, you no longer have a healer, and you can't heal. So what's the point of fielding a healer that's just going to die easily? Now, obviously, a healer's not going to be able to sit there and take, a full assault from a 3-square run-up Shiv Leon. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just make sure that your healers have enough bulk that AoEs don't absolutely destroy them, and that, you can, kind of take a hit and, worry a little bit less, because, especially in an Apex match where as the turn count gets higher, you're going to have your healer in positions where it might need to take a hit. And if it can take a hit and not die, that can be the thing that flips the match in your favor and helps you win. And last but not least, the fifth thing I'd like to cover in the retrospective is that people just didn't do Apex. The amount of people I talk to everywhere who, do this, they don't like PvP, they think it's too unfairly slanted towards whales. There's a lot of these opinions, and over the last few weeks, in my guild, in main cord, in other Discord servers, a lot of the people I've talked to have kind of realized, they're like, I never did Apex in the beginning, and then I started doing it, and I realized it wasn't as scary as I thought. I think Apex is possibly the most balanced PvP mode in any game, because it forces people to not only play with their absolutely hardcore meta units. Now, if you don't believe me, go queue in a World Arena, especially in the gold ranks. You'll see it'll be, Zerida, Bozel, Meta Tank, Liana, whatever teams. And, you'll never, unless your opponent has no idea what they're doing in band pick, you're never going to have the, gigantic meta wombo combo that, you can just whale to win on. Now, obviously, it is a gacha game. The whales will have more advantage because, they can buy things like scrolls, enchant scrolls, or they can, buy more Trinity Take vouchers and, have their guys at higher star levels. Those are definitely things. But, I think Apex really is a mode that helps balance the playing field, because you can kind of force your opponent to leave some of their best options on the bench. So if Apex Arena was not something you really tried in Season 1, I'd really encourage you to step in there, do some friendly matches, maybe try some casual with people, and just kind of, learn how to do band pick. Learn how to do some PvP, because, when Season 2 comes around, I think that, a lot of the people who maybe stayed close to the sidelines, you can climb a little bit higher than you might think, and, get that skin or get the extra enchants every week. There's a lot of really good reasons to do Apex in Season 2, especially because there's also a new enchant system coming out with both Ancient Call, but also with Apex. And your Apex rank in Season 2 will get you PvP-only refinement stones to help boost your PvP stats even further. And, I should mention that those stats don't count in PvE, so if you are a PvE only main, you can skip Apex there, but, I would encourage everyone to at least try it, do it for some matches, see how I can climb, and really push yourself. So anyways, that's it for the video today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And as always, if there's any future content that you'd like to see in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later.